about the city. They didn't want to
Yes.
go. They didn't want to go down there. They didn't think it was
Yep.
important. And to change that mindset, that takes a lot of work.
It really does. And I think you have to, and again, everybody's driven by personal interest and by their jobs, but I do think that there was a little bit of a feeling that, and again, these subtle kind of caricatures of
Mm-hmm.
suburbia being snobby little, in the old days, yuppie types that were doing this. And there was also kind of a little vibe that was been always kind of down from the urban core that, you don't need to live in bland suburbia and drive your car around. You need to live in the urban core to be really a cool person and walk and do all this kind of stuff. And so when you kind of, again, realize that you can have it all, and to really do what we need to do to band together. And again, the World Cup effort is a perfect example. I mean, you've got all counties and all cities and all states are pitching in on this thing. They realize what matters, and there's still some, again, bumps in the road because we are unique. And I know it's been pounded in everybody's head, but Kansas City, Missouri is a different city and state with different jurisdictions and tax laws and legislation and everything. It is hard to do something between multiple cities and multiple states with multiple jurisdictions. It's not just as easy as, well, it's for the region. Let's get this done. You have mayors and councils and elected officials and county folks that are trying to do for their people first. So it really does take a lot of behind the scenes work and a lot of sitting down together to try to work it out. And a little bit of luck, but we've got so many great people. One of the things, I was involved in the sports commission for many, many years. Kevin Gray was a good buddy from the
Mm-hmm.
Comets days,
Yep.
and he was just a great friend. And he started that as the first director, and I was on that board for many years with him. But my God, he did a great job. At Kathy Nelson, holy mackerel! I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what an amazing job she's done. And you get good people together that just get their heads down and do what needs to be done. And I think now, again, I'm so proud that we've got so much going on in this region, and I can hardly wait for the World Cup, and I can hardly wait for the Royals to get into the playoffs again. And God knows what's going to happen with the Chiefs. That's going to be crazy. And so this is as good as it's ever going to get in Kansas City. So we need to be very mindful of that and enjoy the ride.
Why do you think it has been maybe even more problematical in this area? I point out often that because this country cities were built on rivers, there's multiple communities that have this same issue, from St. Louis to Memphis to Cincinnati. But why?
Yeah.
It seems like it was worse here, though.
Oh, it was worse. Again, exacerbated by the state line, exacerbated by perceived, there's so many different social things. And again, it's just so, worse than ever, in this country today. But again, suburbia and kind of snobbery, and you can look at racial issues, you can
Yep.
look at socioeconomic issues, whatever it is. There was they run through this kind of prejudice that kind of comes through that. And so it is, again, I know you've had Kay Barnes on before. She
Yep.
was tremendous in trying to get the get downtown going. And you can't please everybody. When we did the Power and Light and they did the Sprint Center, you had to create a district that they're still, paying on. But at the same time, if they hadn't done that, there'd be nothing going on down there. So
Yep.
you have to take some bold steps. You have to realize that things are going to, change a little bit. And I think this is generational, Danny, a little bit. I think
Right.
as we get some of the younger folks coming into positions of power in their 30s and 40s now that were just kids 20 years ago, I think some attitudes have changed. What's interesting is, though, is you do need both in a region. You need, because everybody when they're 25 wants to go live somewhere cool downtown and walk around and go to all the neat places. But the minute they get a family and get married and get a kid or two, they wouldn't mind being back out in the suburbs
Right.
or somewhere with a yard, or the kids can ride the bike and go to school. And so the fact that we have both and can offer both, I think, is, in that kind of complementary fashion, is really something. And then when we again try to make a suburban model that is a little more urban in its flavor, kind of like City Center, kind of like
Right.
what Downtown OP is doing, it kind of hopefully serves both of those needs.
When you are doing all this and such a busy person and being involved in amazing projects, tell me a little bit about the things you like to do and raising a family and things like that. A very busy person has other needs and wants and desires. So tell me a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, just again, very fortunate to have stepkids that are growing and off. One's a lawyer in Boston and one's working in New York. And so, I grew up in Wichita always wanting to think if I could just live in Kansas City, that would be the coolest thing in the world. And then you raise kids in Kansas City thinking if I could just go to Boston or, New York, that would be the coolest thing in the world. So, coached the teams, did that thing forever and just had a great, wonderful life there. Playing golf, the old bones, had a couple of hip replacements, the body's catching up with me, but got a lot of good golf buddies and again, mutual friends I know that we have, like Chris Brown's a great guy, Kim and some Runfed and some of the old soccer guys. We still go have our annual, not annual, our kind of weekly, monthly, whatever beers and talk about the problems of the world and hang out with that. I'm living kind of through an interesting thing. I got a good buddy whose son plays at my age. His name's Luke Nelson, who is 16 years old and is really kind of a baseball phenom and is being heavily recruited right now. And so I'm kind of living that through them again in this new world of NIL and all that's going to happen. And he's at a Tennessee camp this weekend and he's been all over the place. And there are no rules now with the portal and all this kind of stuff. So it's kind of reliving all of that with them. And so that's been a lot of fun. But I'm really kind of a good old homebody and live near Shawnee Mission Park, and that's my backyard. And I love sitting and watching the trees wave in the wind and playing a little golf and drinking a beer or two with my pals. And so kind of retired a little over a year ago. So I can, watch all of this from afar and the stadium stuff, all the drama and everything, and just kind of get my popcorn out and see how somebody else is going to have to handle it.
Well, tell me about that winding down process and what led you to know that it was the right time to become a nice retired guy.
I think you need to go out on top, and that's just my kind of personal thing. And we could have stayed longer and done some things, but my social battery was kind of winding down. I love the economic development stuff. I love the deals. The kind of networking and all that kind of stuff just wears me out. And there was just kind of a moment that kind of realized that it's time to look around and see what we've been able to accomplish. Like I said, I'm just turned 68, so I've been doing it for 40 some years. And I really do feel that you can stay too long at the fair, and I didn't want to be that guy. And I kind of made a point of not meddling around with our new chamber folks, our new economic development folks, our new city manager. Our city manager is a great friend, Becky Yoakum. She does a wonderful job. I don't go over there and poke around in their business anymore and try to, let the professionals handle it and let the next generation kind of come in and kind of, I do tend to kind of carry the flame of the remembrance of the way it was. Look, again, some of the things we've discussed about Kansas and Missouri and the relationships and the ups and downs and how we got to where we are, because it wasn't always like it is now. And I kind of remind people that don't take this for granted. Work at it and develop those relationships, develop your product, and make sure you have a good network in place to kind of fight for your place at the table. And so just felt like it was time to go and go have fun and wander around the country or the world or wherever we're going to go and just let somebody else do all of that stuff.
Well, you must have a tremendous sense of pride. As I mentioned, you're in the Missouri Western Hall of Fame. When you retired, there were numerous glowing articles about your career. You've had the successes in family and friends. It must put a smile on your face when you're sitting in Shawnee Mission Park.
It does. And I really do try to be very mindful of all that. And from running around the world playing baseball to running around the country broadcasting soccer games, which, we didn't even know what the hell we were talking about most of the time, but we gave it our best shot. And then kind of to switch gears and be able to really be kind of a part of the behind the scenes stuff that goes on in a city that I've always wanted to be in. Just a tremendous honor. A lot of great people along the way. Great teams in sports, but great teams and the staffs and the people that we've had that made all this stuff happen. A lot of great relationships. And now that I've been interviewed by Danny Clinkscale, my life is complete. It's come full circle. So I couldn't be more thankful.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new. This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like
the 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence. Great food, finely crafted beers, cocktails, and great sports viewing in a friendly and comfortable atmosphere. Join Matt Llewellyn and his great staff at 23rd and Castle in Lawrence.